Yeah, this little girl likes to be called Miss Travis, don't you know?
Would you tell her to let go of me?
I said let her go!
All right, boss, anything you say. Oh, now look what you did, Mr. Whitney. You scared her off.
I swear, Gunther, you really have lost your mind.
Well, don't worry about it, Mr. Whitney. It was just a little bit of friendly fooling around, that's all.
I told you never to bother that girl again, and I come down and I find you in my own house. I ought to fire you for that.
Nah, you won't fire me, Mr. Whitney. You need me too much. Let's face it. Who would drive you around all day in your car, mix your drinks for you, beat people up for you? Speaking of drinks, this coffee is not doing too much for me.
Put that down.
Well, you're sure in the mood for giving orders, aren't you?
Did you hear what I said? I said put down that decanter. That's my best whiskey.
Well, don't you want me to have the best, don't you?
All right, Gunther, that's it. You're fired. You just pack your stuff and get out of here in an hour. And if you're not out in an hour, I'll arrange to have you thrown out.
Now, this is sure good whiskey. You know, I would love to drink this stuff all the time.
Did you hear what I said? I said get out.
Yeah, well, I can't go. And you know why, Mr. Whitney? Because Mrs. Whitney would not like it.
Mrs. Whitney would be delighted if you disappeared.
Oh, well, that's not what I mean. What I meant was Mrs. Whitney would not like to hear the truth.
What truth?
About what happened here last night? No, I think it would come as a terrible shock to her to find out that you hired that man to kill her.
Now I know you're insane.
Yeah, I should have known that quick little trip to Chicago was a phony. Because you always let me handle all of your business appointments, only this one time, you handled it yourself.
It came up in the last minute. That's the reason I handled it myself.
No, Mr. Whitney, no. This was no last-minute details. No, you've been working on this for some time to get both of us out of the house and to get Chrissy out, too.
The only one I want out of this house is you. Permanently.
There was no business appointment, was there? Save your breath. I already called him. What's his name? Weston? The manager of your Chicago office? Nah, he told me that he didn't have an appointment with you. He said he had no idea that you were even coming.
I didn't make the appointment with Weston. I made it with someone else.
Oh, there was an appointment, all right. Right here. Between Mrs. Whitney and Romeo Slade. And I know all about Slade. Not only do they call him Romeo, but they also call him a lady killer. He's no housebreaker. No, that's not his specialty. But you know what his specialty is, or was.
All right. That's it, Gunther. You won't leave under your own power, I'll have the police throw you.
Well, I got a little tip for you, Mr. Whitney. The next time you go hiring a killer, I don't think that dark glasses will be enough of a disguise. Well, don't look so scared, Mr. Whitney. Everything's going to be okay. Why don't you join me in a drink here? As you say, this sure is good whiskey.
At WMON with Nicole, you know.
Oh, I forgot all about. How'd that go?
Well, actually, it didn't go at all because Nicole and I, you know, under the circumstances, decided that that was a bad idea.
So it wasn't appearing in front of any TV cameras gotten you all shaken up. What happened?
Nothing. I'll be okay. Listen, I'm going to go upstairs and...
No, wait a second. You're not going anywhere until you tell me what happened. You see these? is the eyes of a trained professional now. What they see in front of them is a badly traumatized young lady. Now, you're going to tell me what happened to you.
Nothing, Miles, honestly. Just, a little overworked, a little too much emotion, and too much...
And something else. Too much of something else. What?
Nothing. Look, I don't want to tell you because I'm afraid of what you might do.
What I might... Oh, wait a minute. Does this have something to do with Gunther Wagner?
I don't know what was the matter with me. I didn't even think about Gunther when I went over to the Whitney Mansion, and I certainly didn't think
You went over to the Whitney Mansion all by yourself, Jody?
Well, I wanted to talk to Skylar Whitney. I wanted to tell him that it was definite, that I wasn't going to be his dancing star, that I was going to do it. Gavin had decided, and what I thought
So
was...
you walked right into the lion's den. Couldn't you have even called and found out whether Sky Whitney was going to be there?
I did. And I got the maid, and she said he was there. And when I got there, he was taking a nap, and Gunther answered the door, and,
And, what?
Nothing. He grabbed me, and he kissed me, okay? And, I really don't know what would have happened unless Sky hadn't gotten there in time. But, Gunther didn't even really listen to him at first because he had to keep yelling at him and telling him to leave me alone, and then...
And then what? What happened, Jody? What
nothing.
happened?
Look, I don't want to talk about it anymore, okay?
All right, don't say a word. I understand completely.
Miles, and please understand why I didn't want to tell you, okay? I don't want you to do what you did the last
Gunther
time.
didn't mind doing what he did again, did he?
Miles, you don't understand. If anything happened to you, I'd never
Nothing
forgive
is going to happen to me. Now, I tell you what, you go on upstairs, you lie down, looking on Adam if you get a chance, all right? Now, I promise you, I'm not going to do anything reckless, but as long as Sky Whitney is at home, I think I ought to have a little talk with him. Maybe we can have something to do to make sure that Gunther doesn't do this to you or anybody else in this town again.
I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. I knew you would react this way.
How do you expect me to react? Now, please, Jody, just trust me.
Miles, I do trust you. I'm just scared.
Not probably the day after tomorrow, Nancy, but definitely the day after tomorrow. Now, I have made that very clear to Dr. Stewart.
And I'm going to say the obvious. You should not prescribe for yourself.
Oh, my dear, I'm perfectly fine. The only real damage was to my dignity.
Oh, nothing could destroy that.
Well, I must tell you, I certainly felt a lot better when finally I opened my eyes and saw this room filled with flowers.
Oh, yes. I heard about the barrage of flowers that hit Monticello General. The floor nurse told me that every room on this floor has a bouquet originally intended for Geraldine Whitney.
These arrived this morning. They're from Kelly. That was sweet of him, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. That was very thoughtful of him. Do you know he feels somewhat responsible for your being injured?
Oh, that's nonsense. He came by to help me, and I left early, that's all.
Well, if you hadn't left early, you wouldn't have wound up here.
And if I were not here, I would probably be in a budget meeting. Quite frankly, I think I prefer this.
All right.
Come in.
Ladies?
Oh,
Hello, Nancy. How are you? Mrs. Saxon. These are for you.
Why, how lovely. Thank you so much.
Would you like me to see if the floor nurse has a vase for them?
Thank you, dear.
Oh, Nancy, I didn't mean to chase you away.
No, I was on my way out anyway. I'm meeting Mike for dinner. Geraldine, I'll see you when you're back at the house. Okay. Bye-bye, Gavin.
Have a good time.
Thank you. Damian, my goodness, hello.
Hello, Nancy.
Are you here to see Mrs. Saxon?
No, I really don't want to bother her. Actually, I'm off duty, and I was going to go out to dinner, but I thought I'd walk Calvin over here first to make sure Mrs. Saxon is all right.
Oh, yes, she's doing fine.
Oh, great. I'm really glad to hear that. Well, it was good to see you again. Give my regards to your husband.
All right, I'll do that. Would you, by any chance, care to join us for dinner?
I brought your statement here for you to sign. That way I don't have to disturb you when you get home.
Yeah, it isn't a very lengthy report, is it?
Well, no.
Not very informative either.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
I'm sorry, Calvin, but what I've said here is all I can remember. I simply went there to spend the evening with Raven.
You've heard, I suppose, what happened to Mr. Romeo Slade.
Yes, I did. And I have no doubt that Skylar is still feeling the effects of what he did. To say nothing of Raven. Have you seen them today?
No. As a matter of fact, I really don't think it'll be necessary for the police to disturb them any further. As far as we're concerned, this case is closed.
You know, I really can't figure it out, Mr. Whitney. Why you would want to bump off your sexy little bride so soon after the honeymoon. Was she that bad?
God only knows why I'm standing here listening to this.
Yeah, well, I know all about these things. Take my first wife, please. I mean, she was really something else. She was as sweet as sugar when anyone else was around, but bitter as poison when we were alone. You know, she wrapped herself all around my bank account. I mean, she had me put everything in her name. She walked off with a whole bundle as soon as she had a chance. You know something, Mr. Whitney? If I had known Romeo Slade then, I might have been tempted to slip him a few bucks for a first-class job myself. Only I'll bet it cost you more than just a few bucks, huh?
For your information, Gunther, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
Yeah, well, you just keep saying that, Mr. Whitney. Now, take my second girl, Roxanne. We weren't married, thank God. No, I had enough sense not to give her a piece of paper. Although, that's sort of what agitated her, till I had to put her in an institution.
All right. All right, that's it. I've listened to enough of your garbage. If you want to tell this ridiculous story to my wife, you go right ahead. She won't believe a word of it.
And what about the cops? Think I could convince them?
The cops? All right, you want to talk to the cops? Here, you talk to the cops. I'm sure that they'd be very interested in hearing about you and Jody Travis.
To hear from you.
Gavin,
You did go to the Whitney house, didn't you? Did you see Sky? Did you tell him you're quitting?
No, I didn't. I couldn't. Oh, Gavin.
Big Gunther is. I ought to go over there with a baseball bat and break it over his head.
Please don't talk that way. That's just what I was afraid of when I told Miles.
Miles knows them?
Yeah. The whole way home, I kept promising myself I wouldn't say anything, and I did. Anyway, he left about 10 minutes ago. He said he was going to see Sky Whitney. Gavin, I'm afraid of what he might do. I'd feel terrible if anything happened to Miles, if they got into a fight or something and he got hurt.
Oh, he'll be all right. Miles knows how to handle himself. I think I ought to go over there and stand in with reinforcements.
No, that would only make things worse.
Why? I'm going to be there to make sure Miles has help if he needs it. I'll be careful, Jody, I promise.
Having that man hurt you once by ruining your dance career. Now, please, sit down and don't make me feel twice as guilty by getting involved, too.
Jody, it's an awful lot to ask of me to just stand by and let him get away with all this.
I want you to make me a promise. I want you to swear that you'll stay away from Gunther. Do you hear me?
I can't do that.
Okay, if you don't, then, I'll never speak to you again. I mean it, I won't, never.
No, you don't. You're just very upset right now.
Please, Gavin, listen to me.
All right, look, tell you what. I'll make a bargain with you.
What kind of a bargain?
I won't do anything about Gunther if you let me handle this resignation from the Whitney Dance Company.
No, it's something I have to do myself.
Who says so? I'm your choreographer and your manager, practically. I think I can speak for you professionally, and that's what I'm asking you to let me do. Whitney is a very dangerous man. Please let me go to Sky and tell him it's all over.
No, you'll lose your job, too.
What the heck? I'm going to lose it anyway, let's face it. I don't think I want the job if you're not going to be in the company.
Well, if that's supposed to make me feel better.
Oh, baby, look. It's going to make me feel a whole lot better if I know you're safe and I'm the one dealing with Whitney. And what do you say? Is it a deal?
You won't mess with Gunther?
Promise.
Well, all right, then.
No, Mr. Whitney, you don't want to call the cops. You don't want them here any more than I do. They'd be too interested in hearing what I have to say. That you've been seen all around town with the same man that tried to rob you, the man that you blew away with a shotgun.
Are you claiming to have seen me with this man?
No, not personally. But I do have friends, people that I know. Would you like to know the name of the place where you met? Pretty crummy place. Exotic dancers, things like that. Romeo didn't have any taste, but then neither did you, if you don't mind my saying so.
This is just a bluff, Gunther. You just happen to have found out where this man Slade has been spending his time. It doesn't mean a thing.
Well, even if I didn't see you there, Mr. Whitney, an awful lot of people did. You willing to take a chance on a police investigation? You never know what they might come up with. Some bum that saw you there with Slade, or maybe one of those exotic dancers. You never know.
Why am I listening to this drivel?
Yeah, well, it was you that told Chrissy it was okay to take the night off. It was you that set up that urgent trip to Chicago. Only, what happened, Mr. Whitney? Did you get cold feet? Is that why you hustled back here in that private jet to practically blow Romeo in half?
All right, Gunther. That's enough. Damn you, I won't listen anymore.
No more orders, Mr. Whitney. From now on, things are going to be a little bit different around here. From now on, I'm giving the orders. When I say jump, you say how high. Don't worry, Mr. Whitney. We won't let the world know about our little arrangement. I'm still the good, faithful servant. Well, the good Dr. Kavanaugh, what a surprise.
It's you I want to talk to, Mr. Whitney.
About what?
About what happened here tonight. Are you aware that your servant here launched still another attack on my little sister-in-law, Jody?
Attack? Why, that's a funny
You
word.
shut up. I'm speaking to your employer. Listen, Mr. Whitney, I'm going to have to give you a choice. Either I level a formal complaint against Gunther with all the attendant publicity, or else you do something to make sure this never happens again, such as firing him.
Firing me? That's not nice, Doc, depriving me of my
I'm talking to you, Mr. Whitney. Will you please answer me? Are you aware of what happened here?
Go ahead, Mr. Whitney. Tell him.
Yes, I was here.
And?
Jody arrived just as I was coming down the stairs. Gunther admitted her.
And what'd you see?
Well, nothing, really. Gunther may have said something offensive to her, but that's about all.
Minutes or so.
Good.
Here are your drinks. Sherry? Yes, thank you. And cognac for you. Enjoy. Thank you. Tell me, Damian, did you know Mrs. Saxon when you lived in Washington? Oh, she would have been Geraldine Whitney at that time.
No, I didn't know her myself, but I'm sure my father ran into her on several occasions. She was a very active lady in Washington social circles, so I understand.
Yes, she was. I should tell you. I know who your father was. I know what happened to him.
I know. I didn't really think that I could keep that part of my life secret for very long. In fact, I'm kind of relieved that the truth is finally out.
Well, why did you feel it was necessary to be secret?
I knew it would be helpful.
In what way?
Well, I thought it would make it easier for me to do what I have to do.
Well, what is it that you have to do? Oh, forgive the question. Reporter's instinct. I'm sorry.
Well, as a matter of fact, that's something that I would prefer to see out of print. In fact, I would be happy never to see my father's name in print again, except for a vindication.
Well, now, I know that he was with the State Department for many years, but he wasn't a public sort of person, was he?
Well, he wasn't the kind of man who gave press interviews or sought publicity. But his job with the State Department was very important, and it certainly meant a lot to him.
I do remember the story on his suicide.
Yes. Well, there wasn't much to that, was there? A couple of lines in the press, official obituary, and after that, nothing. No, there are very few people who know the real reason my father killed himself. And, of course, far too many people who think they know the reason.
What was the reason?
My father was about to be investigated as a possible traitor to his country. He was suspected of having stolen certain vital defense strategy documents. Well, I'm sure you heard all about that.
Oh, yes, I had, but I mean, that was years ago. What, about 4 years ago? I'm sure everybody's forgotten about that by now.
I haven't forgotten. I don't use my father's name for a reason, but that doesn't mean I've forgotten it. In fact, there's another name that I will never forget.
What's that?
Jefferson Brown.